Tyler's batting leadoff as he always does here on a Wall Pass Wednesday. So, Tyler, we've kind of bled opening kickoff into topic number one, and I figure since Atlanta United has had the bye week, we'll get into kind of previewing things with the Revs coming up toward the end of the segment. But with the what's the mug this morning, by the way? I feel like I have to ask. What's the mug?
Oh, this is the Mandalorian.
Okay. So he is a Star Warsian type individual.
Yes.
With the
Star Wars enthusiast.
Yes. Okay. So we were kind of getting into the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza and the idea that in Nashville, in their seated supporters section, otherwise known as the Triple S or the S3 or whatever you want to call it, you get to wear whatever jersey you want. And that means on tomorrow, when Messi and friends come to town at Geodis, it will be interesting to see the differing percentages of those who will be supporting the Herons, or at least wearing the gear, versus those who will be interested more in the guitar riff and wearing the stuff of everyone in. So it will be intriguing in the seated supporters section at Geodis tomorrow night.
What color does yellow plus pink make when you combine them?
Oh,
it's going to be real ugly.
Oh, wait a minute. I mean, there's
it's gonna. I don't know that it exists in nature. I'm pretty sure the only time I've ever seen it is in the tunnel sequence in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
This is a new type of candy.
This is very much a new type of candy that is not approved by the FDA.
What is your view of what Nashville, being the ever welcoming town that it is, for something like that? It's like, all right, in the seated supporters section, you're probably catering to a certain demo and a certain age group. So the folks that are sitting, what is your view in a seated supporters section that you can wear the other team's gear or any team's gear that you want? I mean, hell, somebody could be wearing Athletic Bilbao for all we know in the seated supporters section tomorrow. I don't know if that would be any majority opinion, but still, what's your thought about something like that?
I think it's dumb. Personally, I'm not a big fan of wearing, I don't know what kind of references I should use this early in the morning.
Hey, look, all we have to do when we put
Tyler, we believe in deep cuts, and at the very least, you and I are on the same page on 99% of them. So
yeah,
let's go.
This is true.
I mean, don't worry about it, because when this posts to audio, all we have to do is post the explicit rating and everything's fine. So go ahead and riff away.
Well, I'm just, it's like, you ever seen the South Park episode with the Bloods and the Crips?
Yeah.
Or anything related to the Bloods and the Crips. I just feel like this is that moment where the Blood is walking up in Crip territory and seeing, Snoop or whoever, and things are going to go down. It's just not a good idea. I don't care what part of the world you're in. You just don't do that. You go up to Philly, and if you're not wearing Eagles attire anywhere around that place, then bad things can happen. I just think it's dumb. But also, Miami, I mean, you're going to have Messi jerseys everywhere. It doesn't matter what stadium. But the fact that you invite other teams' jerseys of any kind into your supporter section is just asking for trouble.
Well, and did you hear when the Eagles, by the way, sidebar, and this never happens on a Wall Pass Wednesday ever, or on the morning show on the whole. Did you hear that when the Eagles were announced as the team that was going to Brazil, apparently they're going to be playing in a stadium where the rival for the team that they are going to be playing in is Palmeiras. And Palmeiras wears green. So you have the Eagles going into a stadium where the rival wears green and they hate Palmeiras. I don't know what the Eagles think they're going to do, because it doesn't matter what color scheme they have when they go and spread the gospel of the shield to Brazil. They're going to be wearing Kelly green somewhere.
Yep.
And these folks are going to say, I mean, honest. And if you are a fan, I'm going to put this out here right now. And Rich Ransom, one of our favorite folks, who is our resident Philadelphia Union fan here as a part of the Twitch pitch. I will say this. I will suggest this right now. May no Philadelphia Eagle fan wear green when they make this trip to Brazil. Because the last thing you want to do is go into that barn and have folks sitting there thinking Palmeiras. And I mean, Philly folks thought that they knew how
There's
to.
variants of green though. Like, is it the modern green, or can you get away with Kelly green?
I don't know, but the Palmeiras, the Kelly green is a little bit of a lighter shade than Palmeiras, and so I mean, Palmeiras is that deeper green, but still, it's too close.
But like, it's Brazil, right? And so it's the same point with the Nashville Miami thing. I wouldn't go to any football stadium in Brazil wearing anything remotely close that's going to piss off the supporters in that stadium. Just not going to do it.
No.
Yeah, Tyler's point, man. There's a level of self-preservation here. Again, the best advice I ever got from an old Scottish friend was, if you are in a bar in Glasgow and someone asks who you support, just say Queen's Park.
Queen's Park.
Do not invite potential scorn, because especially if you're down there and it's Palmeiras, it's whoever the hell. If someone asks you who you support, you're you're flipping a coin. Are you about to make a friend, or are you about to make a trip to the ER?
Yep. That is no true words have ever been spoken.
Yep.
Or can you just say, like, I'm just, I hope everyone has a good day.
Just here for the party, guys.
Yeah, it's like I'm look, bro. I'm just here. Here's my passport. Got it stamped. I'm just here for the party.
Just like I support. It's like I support the Forge in Canada.
Go team. Yes, basically, go team.
I myself am a Montreal Alouettes fan.
Yes. And you drop an Anthony Calvillo reference and everything's fine. Michael, one of our resident Auburners, he says it's not the SEC. Y'all know that he went to Auburn and wore AU gear to LSU, Athens, and Gainesville away, Iron Bowls, Penn State, etc. No fight yet. It's because there is a certain congeniality, I would posit, when it comes to college football. There's smack talk. There's no fighting. I mean, maybe short of an Iron Bowl. There's no real fighting. You get made fun of and you get to run smack, but no one's pulling any kind of something that could get you in the hoosgow as an end result of something like this. Brazil, different. But like I said, it will be interesting to see what the percentages are in the seated supporters section come tomorrow with Messi and friends in Nashville FC. Atlanta United getting ready for a match. Last time I heard, coming up this weekend. Allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe. Sooner, hopefully, rather than later. Been a week and a half. You made a couple of trips to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta practice facility. Now, as they're getting close to the home opener here in 24, what are some of your takeaways? Having the Columbus match now in the collective rearview mirror, they're getting ready. They learn from it. They're getting ready for the Revs. What's been the vibe when you've been up there to visit?
I think, it almost feels like the Columbus match was just another preseason match. This bye week has really just played hell with everything, but I think it's maybe a blessing in disguise, because yesterday we talked to Slish and Caleb Wiley, and they both kind of mentioned how this last 2 weeks has been beneficial, just in the sense that, you got extra time to have that little bit of bonding with the guys that maybe weren't there the entire preseason. Yeah. Almada being one of them. So, Slish said, not that you have to go out of your way to learn how to play with a guy like Thiago Almada. He knows the game. He knows what to do, right? Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah. But, he said it's nice because now I'm starting to learn, his placement, things like that. And he's like, I fully believe I'll be able to make plenty of line-breaking passes to Thiago Almada to let him go in the attack, which is what you want to hear if you're an Atlanta fan. But, the vibe, I always try to pay attention after practice before they start the media availability, because that's when you'll have a lot of the guys that'll step over and they'll just start taking like free kicks, practicing crosses. And usually it's like Josh Cohen or somebody that'll get out there and defend everything. And there's just a different kind of enthusiasm, I think, with a lot of guys. You hear Yakimakis's, cackling laugh nonstop. He's having a great time. The guys are having fun. They're joking around. And so, yeah, I mean, it just seems like they're ready to go. And all the guys that haven't played in the Benz yet are super excited to see what the Benz packed out looks like.
Jarrett, go for it.
Yeah, as far as guys getting healthy. You know, we saw the reports yesterday that guys are starting to get back in training. Moscata being back on the field, Jamal Tauri getting back on the field as well. Any sense of how much those guys could give you in a game like this Saturday against a tired, what will almost assuredly be a tired and winless New England team?
I wouldn't expect too much out of Derek Etienne.
Yeah.
I just don't think with what he had going on, he's going to be quite ready. And, you know, knowing Pineda, I wouldn't bet on Edwin Mosquera making that like 70th minute appearance like he tended to last year. I think they're probably going to save both of them if they possibly can. But, you know, if something happens, knock on wood, I know Tommy's here watching. He's going to get angry at me by saying this. But if something happens to Giacomakis, I think Tiare is good to go because they did a scrimmage Saturday, and Pineda had mentioned that Tiare has been back from concussion protocol. He's been fully training for a few days now. He participated in the scrimmage, played the whole time. So I see Tommy. Be quiet, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I knocked on wood.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think out of the three that were kind of out and waiting, I think Tiare would be the biggest bet to get any time if it came down to that.
And you're going up against a team in New England that went up against a standing on his head, yes, I use the goalie cliche, Sean Johnson, who had a couple of point blanks and a couple of rockets up at Foxborough that he defended well. And, you know, it's amazing what happens when you have Toronto FC players who actually will go back and defend in addition to try and be the fulcrums for them offensively in a 1-0 win. So they pinned in Carlos Heel. Literally, it's like, all right, he's got the ball, 2 or 3 immediately collapse on him, and you end up with no result. Then you've got CONCACAF Champions League, the Hemispheric Extravaganza. They've got to deal with that. And you wonder what Caleb Porter is going to do lineup-wise. Is he going to continue to push the lineup that he has? You go, say, first choice on the weekend against Toronto. You figure first choice this week in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza to try to put up a number to give you a cushion. So do you rotate on the weekend, or do you put the first choice out there hoping after you've put up a number this week during Monday through Friday that you can afford not to do it for the second leg? And so this is the intrigue, the Palace intrigue, I think, that we're staring at with the Caleb Porter and the Revs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so early in the season. I mean, I don't know how he thinks. I think it's so early that you have to kind of go for it. I would, if it were me, I would be playing a first choice starting 11. But you also have to remember that Carlos Hill, less than a week ago, was having issues with a tight Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't get into the Achilles and turf conversation, but I don't know if that's going to be on their mind. Anytime anybody said, hey, you need to take a break because of your Achilles, I would listen to them. So, you know, I just don't know that maybe he comes on late because, yeah, you're going to have that midweek action going on. And they're playing at home, right, for the Champions Cup?
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
So it's not like you're going to have a ton of travel to deal with. So yeah, I mean, I think you go for it. Now, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing changes like the 60th minute for sure.
Yeah, it is tonight at 6 at Foxborough against our friends from Alajuelense. They are part of the triple header at 6, 8, and 10 tonight. Revs hosting Alajuelense at 6. Hell in a Shell has Columbus and Houston at 8. And then at the Estadio Akron, it is Club America and Chivas at 10 o'clock. So 6, 8, and 10 tonight. But yeah, the early match, and they get it out of the way, is the Revs and our buddies from the Costa Rican League, Alajuelense. So that is that's the rundown for what you're staring at when you're looking at the Revs. And Tommy says Tyler's moonlighting on other soccer shows. We believe here on the morning show to extend our hand. We extend our hand across the mythical creek that is the sport of soccer and the storylines that happen every single week. And so this is a normal time slot for Tyler to extend his hand, to shake our hand, to have a shared experience here on the morning show. That's what we've established here. So Tyler has to put up with our nonsense and our shenanigans in this time slot on a weekly basis, Tommy. So it is not moonlighting. It is sunlighting, technically.
Look, we trade off because he comes here and does this. I crash their streaming parties. It's fine.
Yes, and watch me get absolutely marauded by Paolo on the show.
As if any of us would have done any better.
You know,
you stepped into the ring.
Hey, man.
That was like that 1950s. You're going to go in there and fight a chimpanzee for 3 minutes, and if you come out, you're making it. You know,
it's the circus fair event.
Some money. I scored one goal. I scored a goal, and I'll always have that with me.
Yes. So
he decided to go box. He decided to go box a kangaroo.
Yes. Yeah. It's like fight the circus bear. That's what Tyler ended up doing. Seriously. What was that experience like? Now that you have survived it and can live to tell the tale, what was that like having to go into the lion's den against Paolo? And I mean, dude is like a multi-time champion. I mean, he has the belt. And so you're like the guy at the beginning of Superstars of Wrestling going up against the champ in that 3-minute squash that they need to just kind of fill time for the opening monologue. What was that like going up against Paolo?
It was painful. There was a lot of noises that came out of me that probably shouldn't have came out on a live stream when I was just trying to keep the ball at somebody's feet. And it's like you turn the difficulty, you know, all the way up past world class or whatever, right? Like
turn it up to 11 because it's one more than 10.
Yeah. It was like he had this Jedi, you know, sixth sense kind of force thing going on where anytime I would pass the ball, it was just like he knew where it was going and he already had a player there to intercept it. And then he was going the other way and he rarely misses, but I didn't feel so bad. So I was crushed a little bit, right? I knew I was going to get destroyed, but then they had the League Series 2 matches over the weekend, right? We did the stream on Wednesday and then he goes and absolutely dominates the first couple of rounds and days in the competition. And he beat LAFC's player 9-2. And I felt a lot better about myself. And then the next day, I don't even know what the final score was, but he had beat somebody. I think it was Vancouver, maybe. In the 25th minute, it was already 6-0. So I was like, I don't feel so bad about myself anymore because they're professionals. So I'm okay with that.
I mean, Jarrett, Paolo has sent folks just rage quitting in the past in these tournaments, and that's been a fun watch to see. Folks going up against Paolo and just basically spiking their players and rage quitting in the middle of a match.
Hey, look, you did better than I would have done because I probably wouldn't have gotten into the ring in the first place. And then if I had, you know, just at a certain point, I'm just popping off like 30-yard bombs just to see if I can make something weird happen. And yeah, it is a pros versus Joes matchup to Ricky's point. Also to Ricky's other point, it's not as if we're not going to be sitting here doing this in like a month's time, I think, when the re-releases of Star Wars Battlefront come out. Not like the 2017 versions, but like the 2006 versions are getting remastered and re-released. So that's where you'll find us.
I mean, that y'all are going to be spending some money. And yes, Ricky, you need to bring back pros versus Joes. That is a Ricky point. And Jarrett's thinking about it.
I'm trying to find a way to do it on a local level.
Yes. So we will let you.
Nothing good's going to happen.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. Let's go around Major League Soccer on the weekend that was, and as we get ready for Atlanta United and the Revs. I had posited at the beginning of the season about Messi and friends that because of no schedule compression and no multiple competitions and no leaving people and coming back and, you know, having to worry about multiple matches in a week, that kind of a thing, that they would try and sprint out to a number, try to rack up as many points as possible and hang on. And they embarrassed the ever-loving-ish out of the purple team last week, and it was over early. What'd you think about that one?
I think, I mean, Orlando just never got out of bed that morning, but I guess it just irritates me with Miami because, look, I'm not a coach. I like to think I know a little bit about this game, though. And it just drives me crazy knowing how bad of a defense Miami has. And yet Everybody just sits there and allows Messi to get on the ball, allows, shaky knees to get on the ball, and whoever else, and just they try to get into a low block or something and sit and wait for literally the best player in the world to do what he does. Like, take the ball away from him. You talking about Carlos Hill earlier and how they kind of kept him in check. Caleb Wiley talking yesterday at the training ground. Hey, when it comes to Carlos Hill, we just need to not allow him to get the ball. Usually when you have a pretty good number 10 on your team, that's what you do, right? But yet Orlando comes out there and they just look at Messi and they look at Suarez and everybody else and give them time to get on the ball. But you've seen it already this season. If Miami has a little bit of pressure, go back to that first match. That game should have gone totally the other direction because they caused so many turnovers in Miami's own third that, I mean, the game literally should have been over within like 25 minutes into the second half. Like, it was so bad.
But RSL wasn't clinical.
What's that?
RSL wasn't clinical. They didn't finish.
No, not at all. Yeah, they just missed every chance they had, which is wild. But they were doing all the right stuff up until that point. They were causing the turnovers. And Orlando's a better team than that. I mean, I know I said it last week. I hate to give them that much credit, but they are a good team. They just crapped the bed last week. It was so bad.
Not that folks would sit there here in our footprint and sit there and complain about the purple team crapping the bed, but yes, it was against Messi and friends.
Yep.
Jarrett, what else is on your mind in the Major League Soccers that do not involve what happened with Atlanta United since they had the week off?
Well, I'm a personal fan of hanging out around the gallows as often as humanly possible. So let's play first to the top of the mountain, or first to the bottom of the valley, I suppose. Because I know a lot of the conversation's been on Josh Wolf being that guy who a lot of people thought would be the first one fired. Are we really convinced that NYCFC won't be the first one firing a manager?
True. Nick Cushing, you're on the clock.
I had my money on Nashville.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
You had your money on Gary?
Yep.
I don't know if I had them first, but I absolutely had that as one this year, especially if they don't hit their maximum potential. My question is, what do they do after that? Yeah. Do they change their style entirely? Do they just bring in somebody else who does what Gary does? But I don't disagree that his name is on the board.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's kind of sad because I feel like they have all the makings of everything they need. I'm saying a lot of nice things about Atlanta rivals. It is really painful for me, by the way.
It's early in the morning and you haven't finished your cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. I still need another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Nashville's got the foundation. I mean, they have the defense. We know that. But man, Leagues Cup wrecked them last year. Mm-hmm. They haven't been the same since.
And this is the thing. Sam Surridge was all over it in other cup competitions, and he was lighting everything on fire. And then he gets into league play, and it's just like,
yeah, like you gotta bring that fire with you everywhere, dude. And they just can't score goals. And man, but if they had somebody else with Hanny, or somebody else that could replace it, I don't know, but it's a shame. It's a shame.
It's a shame, he says. Just to let folks know what happened last night, were not a whole lot of goals that were scored. Jared hits a button sometimes and he ducks out quickly. Last night, Herediano, our friends at Herediano, knocked off Robin Hood. Herediano was a minus 1,100 to get the win last night. They won 2-0 at the Estadio Alejandro Morera Soto, which is where we were a handful of years ago watching Herediano. Then goalless draw, Philadelphia Pachuca at Subaru Park. Andre Blake returned. And then Orlando and Tigres was a goalless draw as well at Inter & Co. Stadium. Inter & Co. Stadium in Orlando. And I'm waiting for the matchup with Messi and friends where you have Inter Miami at Inter & Co. and it's a road game. I mean, it's
going to go over really well. It already has gone over really well with their supporters, but you talking about wearing multicolored jerseys into the supporter section there. That'll be fun.
All right, so Emilio is asking your top 5. So when it comes to this labor of Sisyphus that could be a managing in Major League Soccer, obviously you've mentioned Gary, you've mentioned Josh Wolf. Who are the other 3 on both of your grids when it comes to the top 5? Nick Cushing, sorry, that's 3. So who are the other 2 on the board for both of you when it comes to managers whose seats are rising in temperature here early in the season?
I mean, you have to throw Pineda in there, I think, at this point, just because of a lot of things. I mean, he's been here now a couple of years.
Well, and it's also the last year in his contract. So
yes. Yeah. So maybe define hot, but like, I wouldn't be surprised to see a trigger be pulled if things are not looking the way that I think everybody agrees they should with this roster for Atlanta come the summertime. Because at the end of the day, you know, we can talk about players that could have been, should have been, whatever with Atlanta, but you have a really strong roster now at this point. And yes, the East is a gauntlet, but you have to be able to make things happen with this roster in MLS. So I think you have to put him up there, and then just for sheer, I'm trying to think of the right word to use here.
Entertainment value.
And yes. Yeah. Entertainment value would be actually perfect. I know he just got here, but their very short history indicates it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Dean over at Charlotte.
Okay. Because Dell in Charleston said, isn't Joey Saputo going to fire someone soon? Yeah, if he fired Laurent Courtois after their start, that'd be straight up Joey Saputo. So, I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Yep.
But, yeah, Dean with Tepper is the owner in Charlotte would make some sense. Jarrett, who else is in your top 5? Who are your other?
Oh, man. I don't know that Gonzo's in my top 5 on this right now, just because I have the expectations that they'll be fine this year, especially with what we saw after the summer window last year. Mm-hmm. Because if it doesn't, if you underachieve, then he's going to move up that list very quickly, and that's logical at this point because of what you saw at the end of last year. With more guys gelling, you expect it to be successful. He's not like on my top 5 right now, though, of guys I'm casting a side eye to. But yeah, if things don't go well, yes, he moves up into that. I think he moves high up into that if you really start underachieving.
Yeah.
All that being said, I don't. Dean would be an interesting one. They also just dropped $8 million on a new winger.
Yeah.
They still have another open DP spot. I still feel like Charlotte's front office kind of made it really weird because
Same man on patrol, exactly.
Well, and they did all their business at the end of the window, so now they're having to go chase people.
Yeah.
They're having to go get guys who are kind of on the outs at clubs, so clubs don't have to necessarily replace them, like Leia Labata.
Yeah.
However, yeah, man, if Gary can't get things moving, Gary's an interesting one. And then what do they do for an interim at that point? Because your 2 manager there in Huntsville is Jack.
Yeah,
Jack's a psychopath, and I mean that in the kindest way possible because I adore Jack. He is an absolute delight, but stylistically, Jack has taken out has taken out the welder and has welded the gas pedal down to the car. It doesn't come up anymore. He is basically a Mad Max driver.
I just have this vision now of Jack screaming into a monitor at like extreme close up, where he's just like
wearing like spiked armor and Viking
helmet.
Any man who spends his like summer afternoons and evenings dressed in all black dress attire on the sidelines and doesn't flinch is terrifying to me because he's not bothered by the temperature. Clearly, he's just going to keep powering through.
That's John Wick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll give you one. Lucy out in San Jose.
Okay.
And I don't know how fair it would be because I think San Jose's ownership has absolutely dropped the ball.
Yeah, because they're focused on the A's.
In terms of building out this roster, I think they've absolutely screwed up in not restocking because we saw San Jose last year. They weren't a bad team.
Nope.
And now they look pretty pathetic. Ricky Wolf's on that list, man. He's got to be. If the Galaxy struggle, Vanny's on that list, especially everything for the same reason I think that you would put Gonzo on a list. in the sense that you have handed him a lot of weaponry and you're expecting something
and
good.
Ricky Puig, and if you don't finish top 4, that's a you problem.
Yeah. I don't know that they would do it, and this would be my wild card. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about it tomorrow.
Herdman.
No. Schmetzer.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Ooh, Nico Moreno at 10:30 tomorrow morning.
I know, but De La Vega's already hurt. He's gonna miss 8 weeks.
Oh man,
they cannot. Right now they cannot hit water if they fell out of a boat. Their personal hell, I think, is if Phil Neville finishes top 4 in Portland. Sartini continues to do what I thought with Vancouver he was overachieving. He's doing a good job. Man, if Seattle struggles here, what if Seattle gets antsy?
Ricky thinks that Schmetzer might get the Pete Carroll treatment.
Yeah, we're not going to fire you. We're going to ask you to join the front office, but we don't want you on the sideline.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of ease you over here.
We're going to give you a new office.
Yeah,
that would be my blindsided with a 2x4, Antonio Brown level CTE decision. If you asked me to put a 5th wild card in there,
okay,
is if Seattle struggles into the summer, that Schmetzer would be on that seat. And we can ask Nico about it.
Yeah, Emilio, it's only one match, but it's the purple team honing to be up and down as in the past and talking about Oscar Pareja.
It's the thing, man. So I don't know how much y'all saw this last year. But even when he was out of contract, Orlando fans were torn on whether or not to keep Oscar Pareja or whether or not they wanted somebody else, as if that man's not the only person who's ever organized that team into a playoff team.
Yeah. And I think that Tyler, that Oscar learned his lesson last year, where traditionally when we see an Oscar Pareja coach team, once again, they front load all of their effort seemingly. They want to front load all their points and then kind of coast into the postseason, and you see them drop, and they end up where they could have been a 2 or a 3, they end up as a 6. Last year, it seems like Oscar Pareja learned that lesson, and so he kept everything moving. You end up with the higher seed with the purple team last year.
Yeah, they were actually, I remember at one point, I don't remember why, it was something to do with looking at Atlanta going into the playoffs last year, but there was a stat out there that since, I think it was the summer transfer window, Orlando was the best team in the league in terms of points. And so, yeah, I mean,
they were my pick going into the playoffs of team you didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And then they spit the bit.
And they were so good away.
Yeah.
That was the other thing.
That's the other element in this. A couple of other pieces of news, and I know that the 4th has held up the light board. We are in stoppage time with you. Traditionally, I know, and so hopefully we'll catch up with Dylan Butler coming up at 10:00. So the 7-minute warning, I guess, for Tyler as he's having his. Which cup of coffee are you on right now?
This is number 1 is empty now, so It's about to be number 2.
Okay, so he's finished with 1 and heading to 2. We have some news. Transfer tracker once again. Messi and friends moved Jean Mota to Vitória of Brazil. No real surprise. We thought that might end up being something akin to the one-time exception where you let him go, and we end up now with DeAndre Yedlin going to Cincinnati for the first time ever in modern history. I think, as I continue to joke, since the days of black and white television, I think this is the first time that we have ever seen an AM deal not end in a 0 or a 5. And this was 172,699 in GAM for moving DeAndre Yedlin in a salary dump to Cincinnati to clear up space so you could officially sign double nickel Federico Redondo and bring him in under the fold as a U22. Now the interest might have been re-peaked with Franco Escobar and trying to get playoff Franco on a veterans max from Houston. And you're like, okay, I'd love to know how you're going to do it. But I think this is the first time in modern history that I've seen an AM number not be a 0 or a 5.
Yeah, which tells me they were very calculated with this move.
It's
they
like, all right,
needed
math, carry the
they needed
one.
to make this happen.
It's like carry the one, figure this out. And now that means that while Redondo's in the midfield, that it looks like Julian Gressel will be your right wing back, or at least be shielded by the midfield in this, and have a midfielder perhaps drop back into something of a back five to protect Julian's defensive inabilities. Let's phrase it that way. It's interesting, but it once again creates another part of the front loading that we're seeing with Messi and friends. You do a salary dump for one of your talented national team backs, and now you've got your guy, you got your young guy, but you had to get rid of one of your veterans to do it.
Yeah, which, it's always going to be a risk with these U22 players. It doesn't matter how good they may be. I mean, I know he's not on a U22 deal, but Almada was probably one of the safer young guy bets that you've had over the past couple of years. The U22 spots, I think they're great in the sense that, you can get a guy like Edwin Mosquera who can come in, maybe have a little bit of a slow start, but he can learn with the right guys in front of him. And then eventually you can either develop him into somebody that's going to be a solidified starter for the team, or other teams see the value, and then now you've made a profit, if we want to look at it in business deal. But
Yes.
I mean, I agree. I think Miami is just stacking what they can to try to push out as strong as they can, get as many points as possible, because look, I love Lionel Messi. I understand that all of the media craziness around him is just because of who he is. He is actually a humble dude. I'm sick and tired of hearing about him. But also, he, Busquets, Suarez, all these guys, they are getting older. And, we can joke around about it, but they're going to run out of gas at some point. And so you do want to use them while you have them consistently to rack up as high of a lead in the Supporters Shield standings as you possibly can. And then you got to hope that your U22 guys that you're doing all these bean counting mechanisms for can hold you down when they're not playing.
Yeah, Jarrett, it's like Kromoski when he comes back from hernia surgery. Youngin, you run. Noah Allen, you tap him on the shoulder. Youngin, you run. Everybody else is up front. So, this is great.
The only thing that I am hopeful for here is that Miami puts together, and they've put together this juggernaut of a roster. I hope they put it together and they win nothing, and they just end up existing as the San Francisco 49ers of MLS.
Wow. So does that make the Moss brothers, Eddie DiBartolo and John J. York? Is that how this plays?
Oh my God. I just, it's not even like, I don't even have the negative feelings toward Tata like I do Kyle Shanahan, but
oh, I know.
I mean, you can draw a roundabout parallel to,
yeah,
man, look at how good San Francisco is. They're just so amazing. What happens when you get to the playoffs? We don't talk about that.
And you can't hang on to a lead. You got problems, and when it counts, you sit there and you want to pass the ball the first 6 plays of the second half with a lead.
It would be amazing to me if Miami built this Voltron from hell of a roster and then just gets to the playoff and it just turns into like a pod racer that explodes at the line.
You see the engine blow up like at the old Atlanta Dragway up in Commerce. You sit there, you gun the engine, you punch it when it goes green, and then the engine just blows halfway down the quarter mile, and you're sitting there going,
transmission just falls out the bottom, and then you roll over it.
Yes, that's like the engine drops, oil's everywhere. They've got to stop the race, all that kind of stuff. Ricky, one last question with you here, Tyler. Who leaves first, Schmetzer or Vermes? I would say, wow, I would have said Peter Vermes for the last 2 seasons because of how they started. Then they find somebody in the summer window, and you end up with Zombie Sporting, and they go just like Zombie Sounders, and they make their rush into the playoffs. So, wow, that's a damn good question. Because I view them the same because of the expectations being what they are. Peter Vermes might just get to the point where he's just like, I'm tired of all this crap, and he'll tell you, and it's like, I'm out the door. I'll go upstairs, take my other title, and then somebody else can come in here and be the head coach of Sporting. That's a damn good comparison. Schmetzer and Vermes for different reasons.
I think Vermes. I think.
Right.
And yes, it's a coin toss because it absolutely could come down to whichever one of them is just like, I'm done at this point.
Yeah, Peter Vermes is like, I'd love Peter Vermes' exit press conference.
Yeah,
I'm done. No questions. He just walks out.
I'm retiring, guys.
I'm retiring. Forget it. I'm out the door. All right, time to hit the promo for us. What's going on at Scarves and Spikes? And you got some guestesses and some real important stuff going on. What's going on?
Yeah, we have our show tonight. We'll have Sasha Kleshtin on with us for a little bit.
There you
go. Going to chat about Atlanta and MLS as a whole and whatever other shenanigans we decide to come up with.
Well, we'll give you a shenanigan. Yesterday on the show, we solved the issue of the MLS All-Star Game for the second year in a row. And we had suggested as a part of this that the hot tag exists for anyone in the building. So literally it is, you don't have to worry about boards going up. Literally you have the hockey boards up. You can do like indoor soccer and bounce it off the walls and play it to yourself and all these kinds of things, but you can hot tag anybody in the building. And that includes broadcasters. But if broadcasters are hot tagged, they still have to wear their IFB and their microphone and come down from their perch to participate. And they still have to do both of their duties if they're hot tagged as a part of this process. Would Sasha Kleshtin be interested in getting a hot tag, but you can't turn it down, but would he be interested in a situation like that where in your street clothes you participate in the madness that would be the SDH solving of the MLS All-Star Game?
I think he would. I think Kevin Egan would. We know.
Oh yeah,
Kevin Egan would be on
Kevin
board.
was our main example yesterday. Where Jarrett said at one point that Kevin Egan actually tags Kevin Patrick in.
Yeah, just totally, just Jekyll and Hyde hulks it. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and then you'd have Sheamus come in. You'd have Drew McIntyre be a part of the whole thing, and then Kevin Patrick and Kevin Egan try to take both of them out with slide tackles. But you've got to stay in your broadcaster gear. You can't change into something that's got like an MLS jersey or anything like that. I
think that would be great. I would love to see this.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll send you the link to MLS yesterday's show where MLS All-Star Game was solved by Jarrett, by me, by Nick, and by Maddie Cruz. So we will send you that so you can listen to it. It's a good 40 minutes.
That's
Round
cool.
2 is a good 40 minutes. Last year we did it. It was another 40 minutes, and we did the whole Royal Rumble thing with the smoke and the exits and the surprises and all that kind of stuff. So I'll send you to your email when the show is over this morning. I'll send you the links to the stuff so you can listen to it and have a reference point from what we're talking about. Tyler, my friend, it's always great to have you on. Go ahead and hit the promo outside of the show. How can folks get in touch with you on all the media that is social?
ATL Pilgrim. Pretty easy. That's Pilgrim with an I. Pilgrim. So
yes.
ATL Pilgrim. Pretty much everywhere.
And Scarves, the letter N, Spikes.
That's it.
On the 280 character app. As always, my friend, great to have you on. It'll be great to see you inside Mercedes-Benz, hopefully as dry as everyone else, as we fight Mother Nature, who is always undefeated for the home opener in 24. Thanks as always, my friend. We will see you before we know it. It's going to be great to catch up with you. Be good. He's going to go get his second cup of coffee and go for it there.